From the Subaru of Gwinnett Studio, welcome to Celebrating Powerhouse Women. Celebrating Powerhouse Women is proudly presented by CAB Incorporated and Capital City Home Loans.
And hello again, everybody, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Celebrating Powerhouse Women, the series that salutes and recognizes women leaders making an impact in our community. I am your host, Amanda Pierce, and today it is my great pleasure to introduce our esteemed guest, Chief Magistrate for Gwinnett County, Kristina Hammer Blum. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Amanda. It's exciting to be here.
I'm excited to have you, and it's taking everything inside of me not to say aloud what we talked about before we got on the air.
Hey, we're just girls being girls.
About you being the hammer.
Oh.
Bring in the hammer.
I didn't know what you were going to say. There were a couple of things
we talked about. Let me give our listeners a little bit of background if they don't know you personally or through the marketplace. But Kristina is the Chief Magistrate of the Gwinnett County Magistrate Court. Judge Blum began her legal career in 1994, and although she practiced in a variety of areas, she spent most of her time in the federal court system, specializing in the representation of city and county governments and public officials. And I'll let her get into a little bit more about what she does during the day-to-day here in just a minute. But she handles approximately 100,000 matters annually.
Well, not me personally, my court.
Not you personally, your court. I was going to say that sounds
It feels
exhausting.
like it. Any working mom would say it feels like we handle, but no, my court usually handles between about 80 and 100,000 matters a year.
Wow. So share just a little bit about your role within the magistrate system and educate our listeners about what your day-to-day is like.
Sure. If the court system was a hospital, I like to describe it, the magistrate court would be the emergency room. We handle first of all, the structure of the court's a little bit different than some of the others in that I'm the only elected official. I've been the chief, I guess, since 2013. I've been in the court since 2005. I think this month is my 17th anniversary as a magistrate judge.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I was 15 years old when I was sworn in. So time goes by so fast. But the magistrate court has 6 full-time judges, 7 including me. Then I have about 16 or so part-time judges, and I hate calling them part-time because that's just their job. That's what they do. Our court provides services that you don't think about on a day-to-day basis, but you hear about the most probably. And we do arrest warrants, search warrants. We handle the protections of everybody's constitutional rights when they first get arrested. By the time somebody's been in jail 2 weeks, I would say, maybe 3 or 4 different magistrates have looked at those warrants or looked at the case, or we've had a preliminary hearing to determine whether there's enough evidence to continue to hold somebody in jail. We've done bond determinations, those kinds of things. We also handle a wide variety of civil matters. We are an amazing resource for small businesses in the fact that the small business community doesn't need a lawyer to come represent themselves. In state and superior court, the different kinds of courts, you have to have a lawyer to represent your business under Georgia law. It's not my law, that's Georgia law. But in Gwinnett County Magistrate Court and any magistrate court, businesses can represent themselves, which is, I have no problem with lawyers. I've been happily married to one. I sleep with one every night is what I say. But if you're a small business and you have to make a decision about whether a $500 bill, that's unpaid, you want to try to recoup it, or whether you have $2,000 that a vendor owes you, or, even if it was an oil change situation or a products kind of case where the amount in controversy is less than $15,000, you can come to magistrate court. We have free mediation services. You don't have to make the decision. Again, lawyers are awesome and they're absolutely welcome in our court. But for small businesses, I always like talking in the business community about these resources we have. Because another cool thing about our small business court is the fact that we actually do it at night too. So you don't have to, if you have a small, a tire store or something, or a child, if you can come to court at night at 6:30 and we'll do the calendars. We also have free mediators there to try to resolve the disputes between the parties. And mediation normally costs a lot of money. So we provide those resources to people and the business community. So we're important, I think, to a safe community in the fact that we're also 24/7. Our court there's always a judge on duty, because think about warrants, search warrants, arrest warrants. I've been at the jail in the middle of the night when a SWAT call out happens and they need a warrant because there's a victim inside a house. I mean, you hear about that in the news, but that's kind of a, that's another day. Yeah, that's a reality. So we have judges on duty 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, not only providing access to the warrants and things that officers public safety needs, but also we're there to provide access to constitutional rights that people who are accused and are in jail do. We also do landlord-tenant matters. I know we've gotten a lot of publicity for our collaboration with Commissioner Marlene Foscue and Matt Elder. I think we did a different podcast talking about Project Reset, where we were able to utilize and build a pipeline to CARES Act and ARPA funding. And we made an impact last year of only, I think, 40% less dispossessory filings we had in our court last year, just through the collaboration between the county, Home First Gwinnett, and my court and the processes we built. So we do a little bit of everything. We do debt collection, not our favorite, but it's important, and I'm pretty proud. We have a staff of I have 4 calendar coordinators. I have an executive director, and then I have a staff attorney position. I haven't filled it. Coming out of COVID, it was really hard to find people that were willing to come to work every day like we did. And then I have about 30 clerks that our clerk of court assigns to us. So we're a big operation, but I couldn't work with a better group of people that are more dedicated, more selfless. And I probably had one of the only places that I had to beg people not to come to work during the worst of COVID. Yeah. They just wanted to be there, wanted to help out, and
show their dedication.
For sure. We have a lot of social work kind of activities going on. We try to divert people away, actually, from the justice system. One of the things I always joke about, and I say it's true, anybody that's heard me talk about my job, I say I come to work every day trying to put myself out of business, but I also am willing to fail every day miserably at that. But we like to utilize programs and opportunities in our court for people to help themselves when the issue might not be legal. It might be mental health. It might be addiction. It might be family. Mm-hmm. It might be those kinds of things.
I know the sheriff's office here in Gwinnett, I think it was last weekend on the 7th, they hosted a mental health awareness kind of event per se. They asked if we would help promote it, and it was all, again, like you're saying, to provide the community with resources and kind of show them that they weren't alone there if you're a victim or if you're just curious about how you can participate with mental health.
Well, I think a lot of what the sheriff's department do is I have a kind of a, my operation is I have 6 courtrooms at the Justice Center at the big courthouse that people refer to as GJAC, the Gwinnett Justice and Administration Center. And then I have 4 courtrooms at our jail court annex, and all of my family violence and all of our criminal cases and things like that are out at the jail. But I was at the jail all day yesterday hearing family violence cases. I was on the bench. That's why my voice is a little hoarse today. But we, at the jail, what you see a lot of in a community as big and vibrant as ours is people with mental health issues often end up intersecting with the law enforcement community and the justice system. Right. They might be, people come to us with a problem like my son is an alcoholic and he's addicted to drugs and he's become violent in the house. That's how they present themselves to us. And we can't tell them what they should or should not do. We're not permitted to do that. But I always refer to our court as sort of a compass court to try to point people in the right direction of what resources might be available. And mental health, unfortunately, in the sheriff's department, if there are special, we call them pods. Pods are housing units in the jail that have highly trained deputies that deal with people who have a mental health challenge. Sometimes the challenge is a chicken and an egg. Do you have a mental health diagnosis or issue because you were addicted to drugs and that happened, or are you self-medicating because you have a mental health? Right. And either way, it doesn't really matter. It's just a challenge that it's sad when your primary mental health facility is your jail. Yes. And that's what I think our sheriff's department is trying to raise awareness about.
I could talk to you about that for a while, but I'm sure it might become controversial for some of our listeners about the displacement of people who were in mental health facilities and then they were closed down not too long ago.
And certainly not what certainly not, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about the reality of someone who has a mental health challenge that might make them violent, might make them, am I saying that they should? Sometimes, for sure. If you're a danger to the community or someone else and you break the law, or yourself, but it's certainly not a political statement. It's just a fact that a lot of people who face real mental illness can, in some point in their life, have a challenge that might involve the legal system, and it's something that I think I'm proud of the community for kind of being aware of.
And taking the stance.
For sure. Just awareness makes a difference.
Yeah.
Resources.
That's really interesting to learn. Thank you for sharing kind of in depth about what you guys do. I had no idea that these is that a word? Mediation services were provided as a courtesy of the county. You said one thing I want to ask you really quickly. Under $15K, free mediation, and also you did landlord and stuff like that. Do you guys also work with like HOAs whose fines are in arrears and in pursuit?
It's interesting you say that. At homeowners associations, they file suits pursuant to the covenants and declarations of that association. When you buy in, it's like it's contractual. So they all have lawyers. HOAs, I've never seen one.
Yes.
Yeah.
The reason I'm asking from personal experience.
Yeah.
We do. Our attorney is David Boy out of Alpharetta. He's fantastic. But we have several people that are in arrears exceeding $15K. And they have hired their own attorneys.
Sure.
Now we're all kind of just duking it out. And I'm wondering, in a scenario like that, because there's a lot of retired elder folks who've been fined, they might not be able to afford an attorney.
HOAs do sue in our court. The $15,000 is the Georgia legislature established that as my jurisdictional limit, meaning the amount of money below that can go to magistrate court. Because one thing that's interesting about mag court is that we do not have jury trials. So it's all bench trials. Bench trials is when it's just the judge that decides. So we could move, we were able to, and I have so many, we have a big court and a lot of judges, and we were able to catch up real quick when the courts opened again, just because I said we used to call it going wide. I use a lot of sports analogies. We'll go wide, meaning that I might have smaller calendars in more courtrooms, so we could catch up. And we don't have jury trials. My colleagues in state and superior court have to deal with jury trials, and that was the biggest holdup during the pandemic, is getting juries safely back in the building, and certainly understand that struggle. But homeowners associations, it depends on the amount. Those can rack up fast. So if they're over the jurisdictional limit for magistrate court, they file usually in state court. Can anybody work out? Yeah, I think most often it's a little bit of a misconception that litigation is always most cases don't go to trial. So I always tell people, you can try to work it out. I can't force you to work it out, though, as the judge. Free mediation services that we provide in magistrate court, of course, if you're the homeowners associate, we would let you resolve it if you wanted to. A lot of our customers, as I call them, in magistrate court are self-represented. So as I said, if you're self-represented, you're not familiar with the mediation process or things like that. So our trained mediators will come in and utilize the mediation process to help them come to a resolution that's, I always like to say, mutually tolerable, because it's a lot better if they can work it out. And a couple things I've changed about how I've looked at cases over the last few years, particularly coming out of COVID, because COVID, even though it was the worst thing I've experienced, of course, in our lifetime, it was crazy and horrifying, and so much sickness, and just it was sad and hard on everybody. But the one thing I utilized is I took opportunities to reimagine sort of how we delivered our product to people. And one of the things when you talk about settling cases is I don't have this philosophy judicially that I force an arbitrary timeline on your case. You might need, if you want a payment plan that's going to take $5 a day for 15 years, who am I to say that payment plan doesn't work between that plaintiff and that defendant? So we've come up with ways in our court to sort of honor and respect the solutions that people craft, as long as they're within the law, meaning I will administratively close your case. I'm not going to keep hauling you back to court saying, I need a judgment, I need an order, I need to close the case. If you don't need me anymore, I consider that case no longer pending. And I can't believe how successful that's been, because again, it's really trying to administer justice in a way that respects the solutions people come up with on their own. And it's been great. I just started too in our dispossessory cases a mediation program with the help of our Abby Carter, our mediation director, our alternative dispute resolution director for Gwinnett County. She and I got together and we started bringing mediators into dispossessory court to try to work out maybe pay and stay or payment plan situations. And some of my judges, and I do dispossessories, of course, I do all the calendars in my court, but in dispossessory court, my judges who are the most seasoned were like, gosh, Kristina, this is working awesome, because people are able to, it's hard. Sometimes if I don't like you because you owe me money and you don't want to talk to me because you owe me money or something like that, a lot of times the dispute is over the resolution, and we can help them work it out. And they're emotionally involved. So we're trying to utilize a lot of those processes, and I'm thankful that we've got a supportive administrative office of the court and the resources to be able to do that. It's cool when I always say, again, what did I tell you, Amanda? I always go to work every day trying to put myself out of a job, trying to end it and say, give people access to solutions that they can intelligently utilize to solve a problem rather than the court being something that compounds it.
Right. Well, your passion is evident for what you do. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention, because it's quite the feat, that you were the first female chief magistrate here in Gwinnett in 2014.
Yeah, I was. It was an interesting year. I will tell you now, magistrate courts were actually created in 1983. I'm kind of a nerd with stuff like this, but in 1983, magistrate court was created by the Georgia legislature when the Georgia Code was overhauled. Justice of the Peace and Recorder's Courts were combined into magistrate court. We in Gwinnett County got to keep our Recorder's Court, and we're very thankful for it. Recorder's Court is the court where if you get a traffic ticket in unincorporated Gwinnett County or ordinance violations, county laws are enforced. And I'm very thankful for my colleagues in Recorder's Court because they are busy. But Magistrate Court combined both of those courts and was created. So the first Chief Magistrate was in 1983, so it wasn't too terribly long ago. That was Judge Fred Bishop, and he's awesome. And then Judge Warren Davis was the Chief Magistrate after that for, I think, 20 years maybe, I don't know. And then I actually met Judge, and then it was Judge George Hutchinson, who's one of our Superior Court judges, and then me. So I'm only the fourth, so it sounds awesome, but I'm number 4.
That's awesome. Still, one of 4 and the first lady.
I will tell you the cool thing that year, though, is when I became the chief judge in 2013, that was the exact same year and month that the chief Superior Court judge and the chief state court judge were also first-time ever women.
Wow.
So I jokingly referred to us as the girl band because we had to go together to all these events. And Judge Melody Snell Connor, she's amazing. She's retired, and now she's a senior status Superior Court judge. And my good friend and colleague, our chief state court judge, Judge Pam South, who will be retiring at the end of the year. Wow. And I'm sad thinking every day about it. But the 3 of us used to go to these speaking gigs all the time, and it was kind of funny because if one of us couldn't come, like Pam say, I can't make it, I got court, and I'd say, but you're the drummer.
No, yeah.
You got to be there.
3-pack. So all that happened in 2014. 2013.
Yeah, January 2013.
But you'll never forget that.
Yeah, it was great. And I will tell you, Rosanna Zabo, who was our solicitor for a while, she used to say, and I don't know, this is probably crude to say, but the thing about women leaders is that women don't have to be on anything to mark their territory.
I love it.
And I always thought that made sense to me until getting to be the chief judge of a really big, busy court, probably one of the busier courts in the state of Georgia, is an overwhelming and daunting thing. I have amazing people, but to get to be the chief judge for the first time with those 2 amazing women, I couldn't be more thankful to have been just colleagues of theirs and have their support, their wisdom, their passion, their
camaraderie,
fellowship, their friendship. Yes. So I was very blessed.
Brings me to my next point. Throughout your career, obviously, you've been around many influential people. It doesn't have to be a woman specifically, but throughout your journey to reach the caliber of where you are, who would you say was maybe a mentor or somebody that helped kind of guide your path along the way?
Oh, I definitely have an answer. Judge Warren Davis, who was the second Chief Magistrate, he's one of our Superior Court judges. I always say, for we call him WD, and Judge Davis is a pioneer just in so many aspects of the justice system about, standardizing forms and looking at processes. And I really learned a lot from him. And here's, though, why I think he's probably one of the more influential people certainly in my career, is that my first interaction with WD was as his lawyer. I was a senior assistant county attorney. And WD, in my court, 8 to 5 doesn't really mean anything to me because I've been a magistrate for so long and we're 24/7. So my phone will ring at 2 o'clock in the morning. My phone will ring at 6 a.m. Time in our court doesn't mean anything because we have things going on all the time. And Warren was definitely like that back then. So I would get, as his lawyer, I'd get an email in the morning that was like if I printed it, it'd be a 3-page email from like 2 a.m. Uh-huh. And I used to go down and I'd be like, hey, pal, I got this, Judge Davis, I got this. Uh-huh. And he was so fun to work with. And one day I'll never forget, he called me from his office and he said, hey, Kristina, I know what you're supposed to be doing with your life. I go, what do you mean? I go, I'm a good lawyer. He's like, yeah, but I know what you're supposed to be doing. And because I thought he was going to tell me, hey, you need to do something, At this point in my career, I'd been a lawyer I've been a lawyer now for 28 years, I think. Mm-hmm. But I said to WD, I go, what are you talking about? And he says, I think you ought to be one of my judges. I think that's what you're supposed to do. And, if you flash forward, up until we moved offices, I sat at the desk he called me from, I don't know, up until I just moved offices, which was hard for me to leave that desk behind because he was sitting at that desk one day, I don't know, 18 years ago now, mm-hmm. and said, Kristina, I know what you're supposed to be doing. He picked up the phone and called me. And I think that's just a lesson for me that I try to carry forward in developing the next line of leaders. What can I do? I always say we're all better if we're all better. Mm-hmm. So Warren took the time and energy to invest in me and say, I think this is what you're supposed to be doing. And how crazy is that I sat at the desk he called me from, telling me this is what you're supposed to do. I had that job. I became the chief magistrate. And the journey wasn't, there were a lot of times I was passed over, things like that. But your path is your path. What's that Indigo Girls song? We never fly as the crow flies, get used to a country mile. When you're learning to face your path at your pace, every choice is worth your while.
Oh, I like it.
So I always think about that because people are like, oh, so easy. I was like, no, it wasn't. I've had some jobs that I've hated, and the jobs I hated made me realize what I do love to do. I think everybody has to have a job that sucks.
Definitely. It's character building.
Well, but not only that, but it focuses you on finding your passion and your purpose. But when I think about somebody influential in my career, it's not only WD saying, I think this is what you're supposed to be doing, because honest to God never entered my mind before that, but also someone who took a moment to invest in me and to help me figure out what I wanted to do and to be on my team. And
would you say he helped you bloom?
Bloom. Yeah. Well, it's spelled Blum, B-L-U-M. And a funny story about my life. I've been happily married to an amazing man. He's a brilliant real estate title attorney. Yeah, in Peachtree Corners. He does a complex real estate litigation. And actually, his law partner is my best friend, Jody. And the two of them, through our friendships over the years, kind of developed this practice. But the Hammer thing, when we first got married, we practiced law. I practiced in this, high-rise downtown overlooking Midtown, and I vividly remember when you grow up with a last name like Hammer. That's what my husband still calls me Hammer sometimes. So when I got married and I went to go practice law, I called him and I said, Jim, they have to order my business cards, but I don't know what I'm going to do. And we were married 8 years before we had kids, but I said, I don't know, do I want to be Kristina Blum or do I want to be Kristina Hammer? I'm not. I said, I respect women who have the hyphen, but that's just a lot of work. I don't know. And I have really sloppy handwriting. So I was like, I don't know what I want to do. And all he kept saying was, I just don't care. Do I have to talk about this with you? I don't care what your business card says. Just do whatever you want to do. So I remember talking to him, looking out, and then I was like, I think, my dad and mom, I just have one other sister. So I said, you know what? I'm going to honor my last name. And Hammer is now legally my middle name. but it's just so much of my identity. I just
And
a lot of my
started
friends
your
call me Hammer.
reputation with it. You gained your footing through your law career.
I don't know if Hammer. I'm a very patient. I think anybody who's been in front of me would agree. I'm a very patient judge. So I don't know that I think I'm decisive for sure in other matters and running my court and things like that. So I think more of my colleagues would call me Hammer than the litigants.
I don't think it necessarily has to have a negative connotation. It's just ironic because you're in the court system.
Yeah.
But if you weren't in the court system and I were to read it or meet you, Kristina Hammer, I'd be like, man, she like Hammer. You know, I know you're athletic, scuba diving, CrossFit. I'd be like, you bring the heat, you bring the hammer.
I'm also super clumsy. I think Hammer, it's a good last name. My best girlfriend has a good last name too. Her married name is McAuliffe. She's actually the principal of Stripling Elementary. She's Molly McAuliffe, but her maiden name is Mustard. So she's Molly Mustard. And I was like, that's a cool name.
I like it.
Molly Mustard.
But I wonder if she got teased when she was young. Kids are
I don't think
horribly
so.
mean.
I don't think so. She's like a Molly Mustard.
Cookie.
Molly Mustard McAuliffe. And all her sons, both of her sons have M names, and her husband's Mike. So you can't be in their family without some sort of M.
Yes. Well, we're going to take a short break and have a word from our sponsors. But when we come back, we're going to talk about honey and oats. And we'll leave our listeners with that little teaser. Since 1982, CAB Incorporated has been a distinguished leader in manufacturing and global sourcing, serving a variety of industries, including infrastructure, hydraulics, automotive, and rail, with their precision machined iron and steel products. As a woman-owned company, CAB Incorporated is proud to be a returning partner of the Celebrating Powerhouse Women series. With strong roots in the past and firm footing in the future, Capital City Home Loans combines an old-fashioned sense of community with a progressive attitude. They are a trusted full-service lender, offering mortgage finance products and empowering their associates to help clients choose the best options. They are focused on being the best and strongest lender in the Southeast. Visit cchl.com/locations to see all of their offices, including Gwinnett.
That's good music.
Yes. Welcome back. For those of you joining us, we are on Celebrating Powerhouse Women live with Kristina Hammer Blum, Chief Magistrate of Gwinnett County. Before the break, we were talking about all of her community efforts and the way that she leads the charge emphatically and fairly. But we're going to switch and talk about some kind of personal things now, if you don't mind.
I'm an open book.
You mentioned being hoarse before the show.
Yes.
And yes, as you were in
I said
court
I'm sorry I'm
all
hoarse.
day. Let's tell our listeners another reason why your voice might have been strained.
Well, here's the thing about me. As I get older, I think women in particular do as a segue into what you want me to talk about. Women do a terrible job in nurturing themselves and finding things that bring you joy. I mean, I love my job. I love what I do, and I love taking care of other people and being in the courts and trying to solve problems and the people I work with and, the people we serve. I love all of that. But, that's only half of your story. You have to, I think we should all keep learning and find what brings us joy. And I have a little test I always give when I'm trying to decide if I'm involved in something. It's a 2-part test, and I always say, does it bring me joy and purpose, and do I add value to the organizations? Because if I add value but it doesn't bring me joy and purpose, I'm not going to add value for long. If it brings me joy and purpose but I don't add value, what's the point? Right. So when I'm getting involved in civic things, I think about that. But just for me personally, I try to do new and fun things. And one of my bucket list things was always trying to learn to play the guitar and speak Spanish, play the guitar, and dive with great white sharks. And I did the diving with the great white sharks last November. That was amazing. But I picked up my guitar and I started to take lessons with a girlfriend of mine. And it just wasn't that kind of thing that I didn't feel like my teacher. First of all, I was taking lessons at a place with a bunch of 12-year-olds. So, as I'm sitting out there with my little bag and my shoes coming from work, it wasn't my thing. So I put the guitar down and then I picked it up again one day. And one of my good friends, he's one of my best friends. I just had lunch with him actually. He said, come over to my house. You don't need to start lessons again. I'll show you a couple things. Mm-hmm. He's really good at it. So we started playing guitar, and then we started playing guitar more and started playing guitar more. And I would joke, I said, I guess we're a band now. So at some point, I can't even remember, because every Tuesday for 3 years, except if we have something like tonight, we're not going to have band practice because he's got something with his family. But I go to his house for dinner, and he and his wife are two of my very best friends, and she's brilliant and amazing too. But we go in the basement and we play guitar for 3 hours. So we started doing this, and I joked, I called our band Honey and Oats. It was a granola bar, but we did a skit once where it was Hall and Oats. So it's spelled O-A-T-E-S. So I've just sort of called him Oats. He's even Oats in my phone. He's probably, if he listens to this, kind of kill me. But then Honey, I got blonde hair, and I just thought it was funny. It was a funny name. So it started as like a little basement thing, and all of a sudden we started getting little gigs, and now we are performing in Parsons Alley July 1st for the city of Duluth, and August 26th. Then we've got a Rotary Means Business thing. We've done a couple of things. It just kind of escalated.
Do you have like a Facebook page where I can find?
Do you know, Amanda?
Then how can I find the next time you're playing if I can't? I'm just going to text you.
Social media. I do no social media.
God bless you.
None.
It's taxing.
I have none. I have absolutely none.
You mean you live in the real world?
I have none.
In the real, actual world?
But it kind of loops back to what I'm saying about women. And I have a great powerhouse group of women friends, too, that all support each other. And I think, finding this hobby and playing guitar, when I'm playing guitar, I don't think about anything but the guitar. I think about playing and how am I going to get my bar chords and going to get this slide down and how am I going to do this and am I going to learn this little riff, and it clears your mind and resets you.
It connects you to the instrument.
Well,
and
it just resets you. I think women are always worried about everybody else. What makes you happy? What gives you a lot of fun? And I have been so much better about that as I get older. One of the things my friends and I do now is during COVID, we all bought campers, like my little best friend crew. And we go camping almost every weekend getaway.
Very nice. Where do you guys visit?
We go to state parks. I'm on my second camper because my first one was a little beat up pop-up that we renovated. And now I have a little hard shell, but we go find little campgrounds, and aren't we blessed? Gwinnett County is so awesome. I grew up in the military, and I could not love Gwinnett County more. But where we are in Georgia, too, is so magical because you can go an hour and a half, to 2 hours in any direction and go to a beautiful state park or whatever. So we're so lucky. So we just go camp and we took fly fishing lessons last weekend.
Cool.
Yeah, I didn't hook myself in the eye. He didn't let us use real hooks, though, so that's the only reason I probably didn't hurt myself.
Yeah.
But I think, women in general need to find what's a hobby that you want to do or try. And my husband and I do crazy stuff. Like one year, we've been married 28 years, we try to find something new. One year we took, as adults, gymnastics, and that was so bad.
I bet it was hilarious.
Yeah, the 9-year-olds again that were watching, I was trying to learn how to do a back handspring, and I was just the worst at it. So I think that, the band, my little band with one of my best friends is just a fun thing to do. And I can't believe every once in a while when I'm in his basement and we start playing, and I always say, Elisa, come downstairs and listen. And she goes, I can hear you fine through the vents. That's what she always says. So we don't have many.
But you also provide vocals for the band.
I do.
Okay.
I do.
So you sing, and that was
I use theater a lot in leadership development. So I'm not... I'm okay. But our band, it's fun.
I bet. It sounds fun. I'm going to look it up. You said, okay, Parsons Alley when?
July 1st.
July 1st. We'll see if I can make
We're
that.
pretty nervous, Amanda.
Oh, I bet you'll do great. And you have all your friends in the audience, too. Just pretend like you're playing in the basement.
But remember, we're what we call an ambiance band. We're playing this little stage in Parsons Alley where people can come and go. Have you been there? It's really great in downtown Duluth. It's not the big town green. There's a little stage that's built in by the barbecue and by Nacho Daddies and Good Work.
I go to Truck and Tap all the time.
It's right across
there,
from Truck and Tap.
Okay, I've seen that.
Yeah.
Very nice. I do like the ambiance. So when everyone's out there doing their thing on the weekend, they can just hear the music.
For sure.
Well, cheers to you for continuing to be a lifelong learner and trying new things. I'm
Some
curious.
I'm real bad at.
Really quickly before, because time is passing so quickly, you're also a mother. So you have a son and a daughter, a senior, correct? And then also a college.
Well, I guess because we're in May, my son will be starting his senior year at Norcross High School, and my daughter will be starting her junior year at Georgia Tech.
So in addition to all the responsibility that you have within our community, you also lead a family. How do you stay sane?
I have the world's greatest husband. My job over the years, if I'm in I just did a couple months ago, or maybe time goes by so fast, right? I just was in a big jury trial all week, and it was 16 witnesses from, I got to work at 7:30 in the morning, I got home at 7:30 at night, and my job's not flexible. I can't take people home with me. So my husband has always been the best supporter, and sometimes he's been the one taking them to the doctor or the dentist. But, we have a good team there. But my kids are awesome, and I'm so thankful. The Gwinnett County Public School System is the best. Our kids are, born and raised in Gwinnett County, and Norcross High School, Blue Devils are wonderful. My son's going to be the drum major for the Norcross High School band next year, so we're really excited about that. But I think the trick it goes back to women just worry so much about everybody else that we need to take time, and I make time in my schedule for hooking up with a friend or when are we going camping. We always try to have something planned because I think what keeps you sane is what keeps you happy. What's the joy? What brings joy to me? Is it playing guitar? Is it CrossFit? Is it camping? And making time for that. It's not always easy. And my friends who have younger kids, I will tell you, get to the empty nest syndrome. I told my little boy is about to be a senior and taller than all of us in the family. I said, honey bun, I'm starting to phone it in. So if you need me to step in and really parent you, I need you to kind of give me a thumbs up, like get in the game, Mom. But otherwise, when you have, and we take trips together now, it's a different relationship with your kids when they're older.
Yeah. I'd say myself, my mom and I, she's my best friend, but it took me to be in my 20s for that type of relationship to develop. Before then, it was definitely parent, and child, but then it kind of evolved into something where I do appreciate her counsel and her advice as well.
And we start to change. Our relationships with our kids should change, as you sort of honor the people they're becoming.
So you mentioned your husband being an attorney. So I can imagine, not to say there are many disagreements in your household, but I'd say that everybody is pretty well equipped to argue their point.
Our daughter, she doesn't engage in the argument much because she's just like, she's amazing, but she'll be the judgy one. My son's more the one like, okay, so here's what happened. Like he couldn't tell a lie to save if his life depended on it. Jim and I don't know that we really argue that much, but I do tell my kids when my kids are giving me something, I say, at work I only have to tell somebody something once. And then deputies get involved. Yeah, and then deputies get involved. And I've taken them to work with me from time to time, and a couple times those were experiences, but it was important for me to show them that people, like when I bring them to criminal court, a lot of them are just good people on a bad day, or sometimes there are really bad people, but
to see the inside out.
I think that, every family, I mean, one of my best friend Jody, his daughter just turned 15 the other day. So I said, hey, buckle up, buddy. Because 15-year-old girls are, and she's amazing, she's awesome, but buckle up, I've been a 15-year-old girl. It's definitely...
It's an odd time in life.
An odd time in life. So
you're like,
ride the wave.
Which way do I go? Which way do I go?
That's what we said to each other during COVID and my staff when we were going through. And I got necklaces with little waves on them. It said, just ride the wave.
I like that.
Ride the wave.
It's a constant reminder. What is the favorite family memory that you have, something that you've done all together with you and your kids? I know your one child is in college, so probably this is a few years ago, but share just a personal, fun family memory.
Well, we're all scuba divers. I have been a scuba diver. I have,
she's a certified scuba diver, thank you.
I love it. Well, that's the only way they let you do it. Otherwise,
where do you do it here?
We're nowhere. It's been hard through COVID. Our family's been skiing a lot lately. We love to ski. But Bonaire is a little island near Venezuela. I've been 10 times, now 11. If you're not a diver, you wouldn't go there. There's no resorts or anything that are like, with big tropical palm trees. It's a different kind of island, but the whole island is a marine protected park. So
wow, I bet you see some beautiful
We dive. I think a favorite recent memory is my daughter and my husband and I in November. My husband's mother unfortunately passed away in a car accident last year, and it was a really rough thing, and it made me kind of recalibrate. I was in the hospital and I said, you know what, I'm not waiting for things anymore. I'm not going to say I worry about it tomorrow. What am I going to do today? I'm going to worry about today. And so we booked the trip that I've always been wanting to do, which is go dive with the great white sharks. I love sharks. I love sharks. And we took a little boat out into the middle of the Pacific Ocean and lived on the boat for 5 days. It was a 20-hour crossing with 10-foot swells and puked my guts out. Wow. But it was worth it. And then we got in a cage and hung 30 feet below the boat and dove with the biggest was an 18-foot great white shark every day.
Holy smokes. And did you have a guide or someone?
There was a dive master.
Okay.
But we were in a cage. You're not going to dive. I've been diving with plenty of sharks, but you are going to have a cage. They were so
Has one
big,
ever,
Amanda.
like you see on TV, like when they like come up and like, like you see on Shark Week? Has that ever happened to you?
They didn't bite the cage. What was crazy is the water was 65 degrees and I'm wearing a 7 mil wetsuit and dive thermals, and they put you in and you're diving from surface air because tanks are dangerous in the cage. It was just me, my husband, and my daughter in the cage, and then the dive master sitting like on the top, like hanging. So they lower the cage down, and when they lower the cage down, you're like, it's so cold. And the first shark I saw came like out of the blue. When you're hanging 30 feet below, the sharks are super chill. Like they're just doing their thing. But on the surface, if you're in the surface cage where they go for the tuna, they almost like fly fished for them with tuna. Wow. They don't chum because the sharks are real protected. So they tap that tuna, and the sharks would do that just like Shark Week where they breached. They would come underneath the water like a missile, and you could watch them. If you're hanging underneath them, watch them go up.
I bet that's an experience.
Were
you able to take photos?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'll have to check.
Yeah.
You don't have social media, so you'll have to
I don't
send
have social media.
I'd love to see that.
Yeah, but I think that probably in recent memory, and just to get to share that with my daughter, who's, in college now, and it's a different relationship.
Yeah, that's very exciting.
Have a beer with her in Mexico, and it was beautiful.
So when's your next scuba diving trip?
December.
Ooh, exciting.
We haven't gone in a while. The family wanted to go. It's been my mom passed away, and Jim's mom and dad have passed away. So I think this summer or this Christmas we were like, you know what? Let's just
take a trip.
Let's just take a trip.
Yeah.
And with COVID, it's been hard to travel internationally.
Yeah.
So we're going down. We rented a little house in Bonaire, and we're just going to dive all day. It's
Silly
short
question.
diving.
Obviously, you can't tote all your gear when you travel. Okay, so you bring all your stuff? That was going to be my question. Or if you rented it. Obviously, you don't bring tanks. You get those there. But like your bodysuit that you mentioned and all of your personal diving equipment.
Yeah, you don't. I have like what you breathe in is your regulator, and then my mask. A mask to me is like a pair of good shoes, like a comfortable mask that wears to fit on your face. And then, I have my dive computer that does depth monitoring, and then I have my regulator. And if I'm breathing out of it, I want to know that it's taken care of and that it's good equipment.
Just because you strike me as an extreme sports enthusiast, have you ever been skydiving?
No, I would not do that.
Really?
I don't think you can pay me to do that. Have you?
Oh, yes, I have, actually.
That's
for
crazy.
My 30th birthday with my father. And I will tell you, he had done it a couple times. He's like, hardy harp here. She's like, are you going to do it tandem or solo? And I was like, solo, Dad.
Did you do it?
Oh,
That's
I did.
Crazy.
But I would highly recommend doing it tandem first because my eyes were closed for the first 3 minutes of the experience because I was freaking out. So I didn't get to enjoy it. I'd rather...
Amanda,
be tandem.
I'm scared.
You are an Air Force brat, but you've never jumped out of an airplane.
No, I'm even a bad flyer. My husband, when we go traveling with friends, he's always like, "Who wants to sit next to Kristina?" Because I don't know why. I think if I could, I always said, I think if I could fly the plane,
they'd be different. Yeah, like driving because you're like stationary.
I'm in charge of it. But there's something about the airplane that I power through because we do travel. I think travel is important. If you can travel, and one of the things we do in our family is we live in a pretty modest house, and experiences matter to us. So we like to plan the trips far in advance, because if you plan them far in advance, guess what?
Budget for them.
Yes, and they're paid for. You buy the tickets or whatever, and we always have something. But every time, the longest trip I went on is we flew to Singapore. Have you ever been that far away?
I haven't.
24 hours on an airplane. And we flew, I'll tell you we flew through Russia. We flew on Singapore Airlines, which was amazing. We flew down to Houston and then flew over the top of the world into Russia, and then flew through Russia into Singapore. And it was a long time.
That's something you're never going to be able to do again. Fly through Russia.
Yeah, probably not. I didn't think about that, but it was an intense experience. I mean, we've done some crazy trips. One of you know what my favorite family memory? It was with my best friends' families. We all flew to Iceland in the winter and rented campers and camped across Iceland.
I bet that was cold.
It was so cold, but so amazing.
But fun, yes. I bet that was beautiful.
Well, we went and we found, like, local experiences matter. I think the things that you should travel is experience the food of people. And we found a sheep farmer in Iceland, and we emailed him. And he let us come plug our campers into his farm. We went into his house and ate with his gorgeous family. Wow. And they talked to us. And then my kids got up in the morning, and we all worked the sheep farm.
Cool.
Isn't that the coolest?
Yes.
That's probably my favorite memory.
How did you find that person?
Just emailed him. He had, he welcomed people to his farm. So we're like, can we come? And
yeah. But that's a true grassroots experience.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds like you guys have covered a lot of ground together.
We try. Yeah, but again, the plane, nobody wants to sit next to me. I'm always like, draw the short straw, sit by Kristina. She sucks on an airplane.
Well, when you said that you got so sick on the boat, I was like, I bet she took Dramamine. And then I asked you about flying, so I was like, that might translate there too.
No, I don't get sick on an airplane. Like, I don't get motion. Are you a motion sick person? Mm-hmm. Do you get the boat though? I've lived on boats probably. I mean, gosh. I do trips where I live on the boat for 7 days and just dive, 5 dives a day, dive. So I'd go on a lot of dive trips or sail trips. I love sailboats, so I live on sailboats. It's always with me the first day I got to get my sea legs. Yeah. And once I get my sea legs, like I was doing an open ocean sail, sailing the boat between St. Lucia and St. Vincent down in the British West Indies. And I was like, somebody take the wheel. And I just remember, if you've ever been really seasick, it was an open ocean sail, so and a sailboat goes slow, so you're bobbing with every wave. I was over the side, and I just remember thinking, if I fall in, it's okay. I just want to be.
Just want this to stop.
My husband kept saying, "You're not going to die," and I'm like, "But I want to."
And he's holding your ankles so you don't fall in.
No, I was just laying there. I think somebody had to steer the sailboat, but yeah, I've been really seasick. I get maybe like the first day or two, and I was holding it together. But the waves were just intense. If we had been it was a small, like 100-foot steel hull boat. But if I had one of the lower water rim rooms, because there are only 25 divers on the trip, if I would have been higher up, I probably would have been knocked out of my bunk while trying to sleep through the night, because the waves were that intense. And then you think about all the movies like Perfect Storm.
Oh yeah. Like, and you're thinking,
and then I'm like, my daughter, I got in that shark cage too. And it's different when it's just you, but when you're a mom, I'm like,
that's your child.
I'm standing next to my child in 65-degree water, about to be lowered 30 feet into the boat, below the water, and 300 feet, wearing a 40-foot weight vest to keep us down at the bottom of the cage because we had so much, neoprene on, while 16-foot shark. It's like, this is going to get me, in the news because of my parenting choices today.
I bet she thought that was the coolest experience.
She did. We asked her, what's funny is I said, do you want to come? Because I thought she'd say, no, I can't make it work with school. But now they can do so much virtual. Mm-hmm. And she says, yeah. And I'm like, oh, that's $4,000 more I got to come up with.
It's an unforgettable experience, though.
That's what I tell myself when I wrote the check.
10 years from now, she'll be talking. I'm sure she tells all her friends already.
I hope so. Mm-hmm. I hope so.
So in the robust life that you've led, you've learned many things. I'm trying to think of the quote here, but I'm not going to remember. It's something like that: a skilled sailor, like a smooth sea, never made a skilled sailor, or something like that. I'm sure we had so many water analogies with you. Yeah. But my question is for all of our listeners who...
I'm surprised I don't have to go to the bathroom. We talk about water so much.
Rocking the boat. Who might be seeking some wisdom from your experience of life. What are some parting thoughts that you'd like to leave people that are listening?
It's interesting when I have so many amazing people in my life that I've learned so much from. One of the things I tell people when, you're getting blue or you're trying to go through, and heck, we all have bad days. I have bad days too. I had a meltdown the other day, and it's just, you feel like the weight of the world's on your shoulders. But whenever I do, I just remind myself, this is the one thing that I can't control much, right? In this uncontrollable world, there are only 2 things I know I can control. Every day I get up, I can control my attitude and my effort. And I know if I've got those 2 things in control, then I'm fine. Because, really, everybody's got stuff going on, but your attitude and your choice of being like, I'm gonna be positive today. I'm gonna what can I get out of this day that's good? And am I perfect at it? Hell no. But my attitude and my effort are the two things I know that nobody else can control but me.
Wow.
So if I can take care of that, and then in the chaos that a day might bring, just taking a moment and there's a song Honey Notes does. It's a band, Tarkio, you haven't heard of. Nobody has, but I really love them. Colin Malloy with the Decemberists is in that band. And I found this song. Do you find song lyrics that kind of speak to you?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, there's this one that lately we've been playing, and it's really trying to help me with my B minor chord, because it's a bar chord, and that one's just my nemesis. But I play it, and there's this song that it's about a journey, and there's this one little line. It just says, as we relax into the ride. And I was like, I have said that as a mantra so many times to myself. I'm like, I'm just going to relax into the ride today. And nobody knows what I'm talking about, because nobody else but me has heard of the band Tarkio. I love them. Tarkio. Yeah, it's not in existence anymore, but as my attitude and my effort are something that I can control. Am I always in control of them? No, but if I try, like today, I'm not going to be negative. I'm going to be positive today, and it's real hard sometimes.
Yes. And
sometimes when my attitude's not great, I'm going to pump up my effort. Sometimes when my effort's not so great, I'm going to pump up my attitude, and I'm going to use my attitude to pump up anybody else. Because you have those days where you're like,
yes,
it's a wash. So on those days where I'm like, I can't get anything done, my day is not my own, then I quote my Tarkio song. I said, I'm just going to relax into this ride.
I like that. Well, I can't wait to look up the song. And if I were a betting woman, I'd say our all-star producer over there has already Googled, and he's going to end the show with Tarkio.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Kristina, I have had so much fun blossoming on this podcast with
Bloom. Everybody says Blum.
You bloom and blossom.
But it's pronounced Blum. Everybody calls me, there's like Judge Blum. And I'm like, it's okay. It's Bloom. It's German.
I knew that because Shelley told me.
Shelley. Yeah. I could not love that person more.
She and I were at a Kentucky Derby event on Saturday, and it was so much fun.
She's in my girl tribe.
She's a great gal.
Yeah, she's in my girl tribe.
Is Joy in your girl tribe too?
Who?
Joy Mitchell.
Joy Mitchell?
Yeah.
Oh, I've met Joy. Yes. No, but you know what? I need to go to lunch with Joy.
I will happily make an introduction.
Yeah.
I'll send you her podcast.
That would be awesome.
So she gave me an analogy that I literally remind myself of daily. So one of my greatest joys is getting to spend intimate time with women leaders like yourself.
Well, intimate, we're talking to microphones, but it hasn't felt like it.
Intimate setting. And I like to extract, not only for our listeners, but this little nugget of information for myself. And what Joy, whom I'll introduce you to, said. She said, life, it's always a juggle. You're juggling balls in the air. Some are glass balls and some are rubber balls. You have to determine which are glass and which are rubber, because you can drop the rubber ones, they will bounce. The ones that are glass, you cannot drop.
Oh.
So that's how you kind of,
what if
determine.
I'm a really bad juggler? Amanda, I try all
what
these
if
things.
All my
it doesn't
balls
mean I'm
are
good.
glass? Okay.
And you know what you have to be willing to do is fail.
Fail forward.
You have to be willing to fail. I'll tell you, the weightlifting has taught me that, because in weightlifting, your goal is failure. You're looking to where you can't pick it up and you drop it. So next time I know that's where I'm got to work towards.
Okay, so speaking of, how many pounds can you deadlift?
Oh God, my deadlift is probably 205.
Oh, nice.
My PR for my back squat, which I haven't hit in a while, is 195.
Nice.
Yesterday I did 50 power cleans at 95 pounds. So if I have bruises all across my collarbones but I tell you what, stress relief. What brings you stress relief?
Orange
and
Theory
it can't
Fitness.
Always be wine.
No. I'm an Orange Theory Fitness enthusiast. So I've not tried CrossFit though. A lot of CrossFitters that I meet say that I have all the energy that
I'll take you with me.
We can trade.
It's super annoying to all my friends. Everybody's like, oh God, if they listen to this, they'll be like, she brought up the CrossFit. It only took her. They time it. But I'll go to Orange Theory with you.
Okay.
And you come to CrossFit with me.
I would love that.
That'd be great.
It's a date. Thank you for joining me today, Kristina.
I've enjoyed it. Thank you.
Well, I hope you have. And for all of you out there who would like to listen to more of our awesome episodes with Powerhouse Women, you can always find us 24/7 online at businessradiox.com. Look for the Rosie the Riveter icon. Also find us on your favorite podcasting application. I listen on iTunes. Where do you listen?
I listen on iTunes.
Yeah. It's right there on your phone. And I am Amanda Pierce, and thank you for joining us on Celebrating Powerhouse Women.